Well, it's finally here, the 7032. It is worth it, I will tell you that right now. 10,600 gold this is going for. I can't show you because it's, well, I already bought it, and then if you ignore the barrack slots that I bought. If you buy it, then you get the crew back and you get the gold refunded, and you've only spent 300 gold on the missions and stuff like that. It is worth 10,600 gold, I'll tell you that right now. That is not kind of extremely expensive like with the Lerva, because the Lerva goes for, what, like 11,000 or something like that? I can't actually check, but yeah, it's something like that. It's definitely not the most expensive kind of tier 8 premium in the game. But what makes this tank so special? Well, it's basically got an impenetrable turret against its own tier and below, and you're going to need some real good, decent heat rounds to actually go through this thing. You can go through it with APCR, but the sides here and obviously here, kind of the cheeks, you can pen, and I believe it's about 200 pen if you go straight in between the guns, but you run the risk of obviously hitting the guns and then you're not going to pen it. It does not really have a cupola. Yeah, just don't bother. Like, you can hit them, but that is just don't bother. The lower plate is super well angled, and the upper hull is also really well angled. Combine that with the fact that you can side scrape, and you can even reverse side scrape in this thing. It's a really good tank. 390 alpha, 221 standard pen means that you don't have to spam gold in this thing, but if you did want to spam gold, you do get 270 premium heat pen, which against tier 8 is absolutely fine, and most of the tier 9s. Against tier 10, it can be a little bit troll, because you're kind of approaching maybe like that 60% chance to pen mark, especially on tanks like the Mouse and stuff like that. You might struggle a little bit, but usually it's 270 is enough. Now, this does have exactly the same crew layout as the IS-7. As the 277, it does not, because it only has one loader on the 277. So if you're going to train crew in this thing, probably best for the IS-7. Although you could just keep switching out the loader, although you won't have safe stowage because you would need it on both. You know how that all works out. So yeah, the ideal crew trainer is the crew from the IS-7. And then you can put it into the 7032. Now, for the equipment on this tank, you want to have vents. Ideally, bounty vents, and you'll see why in a second. Now, I do normally say that you need V-stab, and I was going to say you need V-stab until someone in my Discord pointed out that this thing has god-tier gun handling. It has 0.06 on the turret traverse, which is just incredible because you just don't need V-stab when you're just sitting still and turning the turret, and it has 0.12 when you're moving the vehicle and also traversing the vehicle using hold reverse and stuff like that. So I would forgo V-stab. I don't normally do that unless the kind of dispersion values are similar to this kind of thing. So in here you have quite a few options. What I'm going to initially say that you should do is go and use this kind of setup, especially if you're using food. Because combine that with the field mods, if we just move myself down here, you can either go for the lightweight suspension or all-terrain suspension, because both of these actually kind of work. The terrain resistances aren't too bad, and combine that with the fact that you're using turbo, so you're going to be faster, you could get away with using this so that your tracks have even more HP, especially considering that you're using the HP boost as well. So play around with this. It's only 50k to, change it. So you could play around with this, see which one you prefer, and then just, call it a day there. I'm probably going to go over lightweight suspension though, just because I want to have my tracks to be super, super absorbent of shells. Then you go for the, obviously, dispersion, because aim time is just irrelevant. It might say 3.2. It doesn't matter. Your dispersion values are really, really good, so you don't need to worry about that aim time. There's no point putting a GLD on this. GLDs, honestly, are just outdated now. They should probably just get removed, because it's honestly, I don't see a point of having GLD unless you're on like Arty or something. And then go for the view range, so you get 420 meters. And then for the chosen slot for the category, you can choose mobility, and your tank is looking very, very good. Now, you do have some other options, obviously. It depends. Do you want to keep the HP boost? Do you want to go for the turbo? If you do want to go for the turbo, then you could go for this and then get rid of the HP boost, put optics in there so that you can then get your view range up to 462 meters, and you have a good all-round type of tank. Alternatively, you could get rid of that and you could go for improved aiming, choose the firepower slot, and then you're down to 0.35 accuracy, and then you can choose whichever you want, whether that be HP boost, it doesn't matter. So if you want to kind of go for just pure combat capacity, you could do that. Now, if you're not going to be using food on this vehicle, then I would probably suggest you use optics. It'll get you to 442 meters, which is more than enough for a heavy tank, in my opinion. And then for the last slot, again, it's just down to you. Whichever you kind of want to have. Do you want to have turbo? Do you want to have HP boost? They're the only real two that I would probably choose. I mean, maybe you could go for improved aiming to try and get that down even more, because especially if you're not using food, it's going to help you out quite a bit, because then you go down to 0.36. So maybe this is the kind of ideal setup. If you do have bounty optics, then that's even better, because then you'll get the 452 meters view range without food. And that's actually looking really good for kind of free-to-play people if you've played a few battle passes and got to stage 90, for example. But for me personally, I think I'm going to stick to this for now and see how it goes. I might try a few different ones out. We'll have to see. But yeah, the 7032 is here. If you want a very, very good heavy, I was about to say decent. It's not just decent. It is probably one of the best heavy tanks that you can get for a tier 8 premium. Its armor holds up quite well against tier 9s usually. Unless they're firing, 340 heat, which, 340 heat is going to demolish most tier 8s, let's be honest. But good standard pen, decent alpha. DPM is not too bad. And the armor is nice. This tank actually makes me wish that I could gift using gold, so I could give it to the Big Noober account so that we could mark it in the credit grind as like one of our next tanks. Unfortunately, you can only gift these tanks for real money, and that's probably not worth it considering I already have it. So yeah, we're not going to do that. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope that you found this informative or just enjoyed, and yeah, I'll see you all in the next one. Hopefully you enjoy the tank if you get it.